I sat in the living room, staring at the muted television. The images flickered, but I wasn't really seeing them. My mind was stuck on the text messages I had found the night before. Messages from my wife, Lisa, to her boss. It wasn't just one message. It was months' worth, hidden in a separate messaging app one had never seen before. I don't know what made me look. Maybe intuition. Maybe the way she had started coming home late. Her phone always angled away from me. Maybe it was the way she laughed at his jokes in a way she hadn't laughed at mine in years. For almost a year, she had been cheating on me. I felt sick. My stomach twisted every time I thought about it. 21 years of marriage, and I had never once even considered betraying her. I had been faithful, dedicated. And yet, here I was, sitting in the dark, questioning everything I thought I knew about my life. I wanted to confront her immediately, to demand answers, to scream, to cry. But I didn't. Something inside me told me to wait. I needed to think. She came home an hour later, all smiles, carrying a takeout bag from my favorite restaurant. A peace offering. She had no idea I knew. "Hey, babe," she said, setting the food down. "Long day?" I nodded, trying to force a neutral expression. "Yeah, you." "Exhausting," she sighed, rubbing her neck. "But at least it's the weekend." I swallowed hard. I could barely look at her. My wife, the woman I had loved since we were young, was a stranger to me now. I needed to figure out my next move. The next morning, I woke up before her and went for a walk. I needed air, space. My mind was racing with thoughts about what to do next. Should I talk to a lawyer? Should I confront her? Should I collect more evidence? The betrayal was suffocating, but I had to keep my emotions under control. I parked in a quiet spot overlooking the lake where we used to go as kids. It was our place, filled with laughter and whispered dreams of the future. Now this place looked like a cemetery of memories. My phone rang. It was a message from her. "Hey, where did you go? Is everything okay?" I stared at the screen, wondering whether to answer. She still thought everything was fine, that I hadn't noticed anything, that I was still the same gullible man she had been deceiving for almost a year. I took a deep breath. If I was going to play this right, I had to be careful. I typed out a reply. I went for a drive. "I'll be home soon." As I turned the car around, I made a decision. I needed proof, more than just a message. If I wanted to protect myself and my children, I had to be smart. I needed to find out how deep this affair went. I drove to a small coffee shop near her office, parked in the backyard, and watched. Soon I saw them. Lisa and her boss standing too close, laughing, touching each other. My stomach turned, but I forced myself to stay calm. I took a few photos, my heart pounding. It was not only about revenge, but also about making sure that The next morning, Mark and I met at a cafe. I put my phone on the table, showing him the photos. "I need you to find out where they go, how often, if there's anything else." Mark nodded. "I'll take care of it. Give me a few days." I left the diner feeling a strange sense of control. The truth was painful, but at least now the cards were in my hands. The rules of the game had changed, and I was ready to play. 2 days later, Mark called. "You have to see this." We met in his office, and he put a folder on his desk. Inside were photos, receipts, even hotel reservations. "It's worse than you thought," he said grimly. "They met in different places, in different cities. It's not just an office fling. It's something deeper." I clenched my jaw as I flipped through the pages. Proof. Cold, hard proof. My hands were shaking, but I wasn't about to break down. Not now. I went home that night and acted as usual, but my thoughts were not in order. Every word she said, every move she made felt like a lie. I was trapped in my own house, pretending I didn't know anything, waiting for the right moment to act. I started making plans. If it went deeper, she might be planning to leave me, but on her own terms. I couldn't let that happen. I needed to protect myself and my children. I needed a lawyer. The next day, I made an appointment with a divorce lawyer. If she thought she could catch me off guard, she was wrong. I was preparing for war. The next day, I made an appointment with a divorce lawyer. If she thought she could catch me off guard, she was wrong. I was preparing for war. I gathered every piece of financial information I could find. Bank statements, credit card records, anything that could show what she was spending money on. If she was using our money on him, I had to know. At home, I started paying more attention to her behavior. She was distracted, constantly checking her phone, making sneaky calls. She thought she was being smart, but I could see right through her. Mark continued his investigation, finding out more and more details. Now I had a clear schedule, a list of meetings, even the messages they exchanged. Everything was coming together. I was ready. As soon as she made her move, I would be one step ahead. The tension in the house was unbearable. Every conversation seemed forced, every touch unnatural. I watched her try to behave normally, pretending that everything was fine. But I knew it wasn't. Then, one evening, she slipped. While she was in the shower, a message appeared on her phone. My heart was pounding when I picked it up. I miss you already. I can't wait to see you again. That was it. The last straw. I put the phone down and took a deep breath. It was time to go. I waited until she got out of the shower, pretending to be lost in my phone. My hands were shaking, but I pulled myself together. Lisa, we need to talk. Her face turned pale. What about? I met her eyes. About him. Lisa froze, clutching the towel she was wrapped in. What are you talking about? I picked up her phone, the message still on the screen. I miss you already. I can't wait to see you again. Do you want to explain? Her eyes flicked to the phone and then back to me. It's not what you think. I scoffed. Really? Because it looks exactly like what I think it is. How long have you been planning to lie to me? Were you waiting for me to figure it out? Or were you just going to leave when it was convenient for you? She sat on the edge of the bed, her shoulders slumped. I never thought it would go this far. I crossed my arms. But it did. And now what, Lisa? What do you want? There were tears in her eyes. I don't know. I don't want to lose everything. I laughed bitterly. Well, you should have thought about that earlier. She sat on the edge of the bed, her shoulders slumped. I never thought it would go this far. I scoffed. That's the problem, Lisa. You never thought. She looked up at me, tears streaming down her face. I was lonely, and everything just happened. I never meant to hurt you. I shook my head. You can't just casually cheat on someone for a year. It takes effort. She covered her face with her hands. What do we do now? I stood up, my voice firm. I'm moving on without you. I'm filing for divorce. And I will make sure the children know the truth. Lisa sobbed, but I couldn't sympathize with her. Her choices had brought us here, and now she would have to live with the consequences. The next morning, I called my lawyer and started the divorce process. I wasn't going to let her lies dictate my future. This was my chance to take back control of my life. I met with Mark one last time. You did the right thing, he assured me. I nodded, feeling a strange sense of relief. It's time to start over. A week later, Lisa moved out. It was painful, but necessary. My children knew the truth, and although they were hurt, they understood. For the first time in a long time, I felt free. The road ahead was uncertain, but at least it was mine to walk, without the deception weighing me down. I took a deep breath and stepped forward, ready for whatever came next.